Good afternoon, guys. Brian with VetteSource here. Today, Tuesday, finally got our big block Corvette 72 454 big block car into our temporary workspace back here so that we can do a tear down and kind of assess what we're looking at. Today, while I'm waiting on some of the extra parts to come in for the 88 yellow gold TPI tear down and rebuild that turned into a head gasket replacement, still waiting a few parts on that. What I figured I'd do is go ahead and inventory the parts that we got with the Humpty Dumpty Corvette here. So what I'm going to do real quick is, you see when I picked up the car, I kind of ceremoniously had to just stuff everything inside of it when I was picking it up, because a lot of it had just been sitting. So what we're going to do real quick for this video, I'll show you guys what came with the car, kind of go over what I'm missing, and I'll just lay it out over here and we'll see what we're going to get. So real quick, since again I'm one-handed, I can't really do everything with the camera. I'm going to lay everything out in order, and then I'll be right back to show you guys what we have. So stick with me. This should be interesting to see what's still left in here and what's usable, and what we're going to need here. And if you haven't seen my previous videos on this, there's a link at the top of the video for the playlist where I picked this car up. So stand by, I'll be right back with you. Well, that was quite a haul. Okay, so we got this thing emptied out. There was actually more in here than I thought was going to be. So you can see essentially what's in here, what's left, what hasn't been uninstalled. There's the basic parts of the steering column, which puzzles me that they actually even went so far as to take the ignition lock cylinder and everything out of it. But they left the internal heater box in the car. You know what? Let's see out of curiosity. So I think our package tray is in here too. Yeah, there's our package tray. So it's still in here. I'll work on it later. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's still in there. So that's where you store the rear window when you take the rear window out of the car. And there's our moisture problems there that we'll have to rectify and work on, but otherwise not bad. So there were a lot more parts in here than I remembered when I picked it up, which is good. So let's take a look here at all this stuff that was in this. Okay, over here we've got the radiator, which might have once been good, but of course we got a little corrosion down there, and then they crushed this tank here on the end, so I'll have to use that for parts. There's our seat frame. Seats, by the way, are just in another spot. I didn't have those here. Carpet. This was a new carpet set, but I think from where it was sitting, it pretty much hammered it. So I may take a run at trying to make it look better again, but we'll see. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it. There were a few broken parts that were here. T-top cover. That's a good part to have. That's our radiator core support. That's not rotted and rusted out, which is good. There's our original fan blade, 7-blade, special for AC with the clutch. Some reason they painted it red, I'm not sure why. There's our dash pad, no good. Bumpers. This bumper might be, that one's pretty rough too. Yeah, that one's got a lot of flake on it, and this one's just rotted through. And but a lot of good stuff here. So these are those deluxe wheel covers that we talked about. Those are in the car. There are the a lot of the interior parts there that are left. There's our kick panels, our red original panels. Those are both there. There's our upper header panels, seat belt receivers. There's our T-top straps. There's our side kick panel with our heater, our defroster switch. There is our back window lower trim piece, filler panel. There is our center console broken, but it actually, I might be able to use that. I don't know. We'll clean that up and see. That's broken. There's our AC heater control. These are pretty expensive. It's good to have those. Those are usually about $500 or more for a set if you can find them. Lower seat cover, seat belt covers there. There's our seat tracks. There's a bunch of miscellaneous stuff there that I need to go through. Bucket of bolts. This one here, this would be our upper AC component, vent, center dash. Those are there, so that's there too. There is our wiper mechanism housing. There's our center gauge. Tachometer, unfortunately, didn't survive. The moisture got to it, so luckily I've got another one of those. And of course, particular to these big blocks here, also this little, believe it or not, that little vacuum housing port in the back is an expensive little booger, probably in the neighborhood of a couple $100. I detailed a big block tachometer once before. I've got a link up at the top of the video if you've never seen that video I made before. AC evaporator, torque converter cover. There's our fan shroud, our AC components. There's our heater core. This is an expensive piece right here, which is glad to have. There's our expansion tank for a big block with air conditioning. These are the only ones that came with this style of expansion tank. There's our original numbers on the side of there. Whole bunch of suspension parts and other little goodies they bought that probably most of them aren't usable. There is our steering wheel, our air cleaner assembly. There's our shocks, which our springs, I'm gonna go and get new ones. There's that front suspension stuff. This is nice to have. That is a original 3-groove pulley for a big block for the water pump. If you can find these are $300 or $400 original. So that's pretty good to have. AC brackets there, AC compressors there with a bracket on it. That looks like our original alternator, our starter, ignition shielding, extensions right there. Power steering pump with our cast iron pulley on it that big blocks required. Here's our 2 exhaust manifolds. This was a really big boon to have because these are always missing and it's still here. So here's the original smog pump with the GM part number, still clearly embossed on it there. With the diverter valve is there, and the tower clamps are still on it. Looks like a lot of the original hose, everything is still here. I bet these are even dated if I go back into it. So that's really neat to have that because that just does not come up very often. Come over here and you can see some of the things they were buying for it. There's a power steering control valve, which I probably will use for one of my other cars because it needs it right now. A couple little small NOS pieces here in the bag. Those are our windshield trim pieces, B-pillar trim, door panel trim. Speakers are still there, they're rotted away. There's our distributor, original looks like to me. There's our Delco Remy parts tag on it. That's how you can kind of identify older distributors, is they'll have that tag on there. There's our rear view mirror assembly, which not terrible shape really. A lot of goodies here. Coil. The other thing that was really good that was here on the car was our wiper cowl door assembly and the mechanism underneath there. That's all still there. So that's really good to have because this can get really expensive too. The good thing is the tilt telly column is in it, which can be rebuilt, pardon me. So we don't need to worry about that. The good news here, guys, is there's a lot of expensive parts on this car that are still here. You know, especially with the Corvette restoration, what ends up getting people in the weeds and getting it to where they don't finish is the lack of expensive parts. Sometimes they get sold off to finance a project and they don't get recovered. The only thing I can see I'm missing are my side gills that go right here, which I'll have to source some of those. And then I'm missing my red seat belts. So those I'm probably gonna have to pay pretty dearly for, in the neighborhood of several hundred, if not more dollars, to get those. And then the other thing I noticed, I did discover the speedometer. So the speedometer survived. It was covered in dirt and weeds, but here's the interesting thing. I think I remember in my last video I talked about I didn't think this car had very many miles on it. So here's to verify. 76,590 miles. Now, I'd be very surprised if this was 170,000 miles. This car honestly was in too good a shape before it was stored to have a whole lot of miles. You can even see the front bumper is still actually quite nice on this car. So really neat to have all these parts here. You know, a lot of the deterioration we're seeing is just from sitting stored for many years. Unfortunately, just no time or being able to get into it and work on it. Just kind of a quick look inside here, what we're working with right now. For some reason, this was a popular thing in the 70s. They undercoated the whole inside of this car. So I will probably leave this when I do the restoration on it. I'm not going to get into this, but they did it to the firewall too on the outside, so I'm going to have to scrape all that off to make that original, so that'll be a little bit more work. But what I'll do next time, if my parts are not here on Friday by the weekend for the Formula 350 yellow gold car that we're doing the head gasket job on and the TPI intake, I will go ahead and kind of do an assessment on everything I'm going to need to do for this car, where we're going to go from here, and kind of break down for you guys what it's going to take to restore it, because of all the big blocks that you could say or make the claim that you'd like to see them become a daily driver, this is probably one of the ones that you would actually be able to enjoy on a daily basis, because with the Turbo 400 by 72, they were making these pretty luxurious. So with the Turbo 400, air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, all these options on this, I bet this is a fairly manageable car to cruise around in. It's not like one of the bruisers from the 427 era in the 67, 66, 67, 68, 69s. And this was the last year of the chrome bumper cars. In fact, this car was the last month of production of the full chrome bumper cars. So front and rear. So it'll be exciting to get a little bit deeper into this. You know, I'm going to take my time with this one, guys, just because this is a little bit more involved project than what I normally show you guys. But I thought it'd be cool to break everything out and show you all these parts that we have. So now I'm going to take my time to pick everything up and sort it a little bit deeper, and then I will check back with you guys on Friday, okay? So let me know if you got any comments below, or what you think about the project, which direction you'd like to see me go with it, and we'll go from there. I'll catch up with you guys on Friday. Thanks again.